Hello, my name is Tamara, and today I'm going to talk about the different church movements and institutions in England during the 19th century. Well, first, Victorian was the religion, which was predominant at the start of the 19th century. By the end of the Victorian era, the Church of England was increasingly only one part of a vibrant and often competitive religious culture, with non-Anglican Protestant denominations which enjoyed a new prominence. The period also saw the greatest burst of church building since the Middle Ages. Throughout the 19th century, England was a Christian country. The only non Christian faith was Judaism. This religion saw a rising in Britain, which rose from 60,000 in 1880 to 300,000 by 1940. As a result of migrants escaping persecution in Russia and Eastern Europe. The church also changed enormously through this era because at the beginning of the century, the difficulty of creating new parishes, which was a process that until 1843 required an act of parliament, meant that the church was poorly represented in England's new manufacturing cities. To remedy this, the government had voted €1 million to spend on building or rebuilding new churches, which was then followed in 1824 with €500,000, which was then motivated by the High Church Oxford movement between 1851 and 1875, where 2,438 churches were built. One result of these changes was also the major increase in the number of Church of England clergymen from 14,500 in 1841 to 24,000 in 1875. Also, gospel teachings were done rather than ritual and emphasized preaching and Bible study. Moving on, we can also see that there was a rise on missionary societies and volunteer movements in Germany, Great Britain, and the Netherlands, and also the United States, which expressed a zeal that fed the need for church unity. Protestant missionaries in India, Japan, China, Africa, Latin America, and the United States also began to cooperate. And there was also the founding of two important Christian organizations in England, which were the Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, in 1844, and the Young Women's Christian Association, YWCA, in 1955. There was also growing doubt in faith, which was influenced by Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. The 19th century was also the first time in England that a substantial number of public figures openly declared that they had no religious beliefs. Also, new faiths emerged, such as spiritualism, established in England by the 1850s, and theosophy, which drew on Buddhism and Hinduism. As said before, Buddhism, which is spread from its place of origin in Magadha and Kosala throughout much of northern India, including the areas of Mathura and, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Ojjaini in the west. In the 19th century, Buddhism was virtually extinct in India, in far eastern Bengal and Assam. A few Buddhists preserved a tradition that dated back to pre-Muslim times, and some of them experienced I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Theravada-oriented reform that was initiated by a Burmese monk who visited the area in the mid-19th century. Moving on, we have Hinduism. It is called Brahman because it is a family of religions, which means that Hinduism embraces many religious ideas. It doesn't stick to only one. Hinduism started somewhere between 2300 before Christ and 1500 before Christ in the Indus Valley, which is near modern-day Pakistan. But many Hindus argue that their faith is timeless and has always existed. Now, who was in charge of the revival of Hinduism in the 19th centuries? This was Swami Vivekananda. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Well, Hinduism in the late 19th century, explained by Lena Lahnemann, experienced a revival that was to reawaken its devotees to their ancient faith. exposed them to Christian and Muslim ideas, and finally to make its influence felt as far afield as America. Now, to finalize, Judaism. Well, to give you some context, American Jewish history commenced in 1492 with the expulsion of Jews from Spain. Fast forward over to the 19th century, thousands of Jewish people migrated to Britain because they were the victims of vicious religious persecution throughout Eastern Europe, but especially within the Russian Empire. Many of these migrants were asylum seekers from around the world fleeing war and persecution. Now you may ask, what does all of this, the church thingy, have to do with Silas Marner and, George Eliot and the book we just read? Well, the connection between faith and community lies in Eliot's close association of faith in a higher authority with faith in one's fellow man. Silas's regained faith differs from his former lantern-jard faith in significant ways. His former faith was based first and foremost on the idea of God. When he is unjustly charged with murder, he does nothing to defend himself, trusting in just a God to clear his name. The faith Silas regains from Epi is different, and that is not even explicitly Christian. Silas does not mention God in the same way he did in Lantern Jar, but bases his faith on the strength of his Epi's commitment to each other. In his words, "Since I've come to love her, I have had life enough to trust him by, and now she says she'll never leave me. I think I shall trust him till I die." Thank you for your attention.